everyone. Welcome to Living Consciously. I'm Carol Carnes. Well, if you've been watching for the last few weeks, you've probably noticed that I kind of treat this session like a classroom because this is a teaching, not a preaching. This is about learning new ways of perception, new ways of seeing your place in the universe, how we interact with it, and how things happen. We could be traced back in more modern times to the transcendentalists, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Walt Whitman and George Ripley and Margaret Fuller and that wonderful group of free thinkers in the 1800s. But more than that, all the way back to ancient times when this teaching surfaced in the mind of the man called Jesus and Buddha in the Hindu scriptures. So it's ancient wisdom in modern language. We've been talking about new thought principles. That was our first show. And, you know, we all live with principles all the time. We trust them. We can't see them. We only learn what they are by learning how to use them. Now, I don't know about you, but I couldn't explain how electricity works to a young child. I don't know how a computer stores memory or facts. I certainly don't know how a piston engine runs my car. And yet, I have no problem flipping the light switch or driving on the freeway or logging onto the internet. So we use principles all the time. What we're presenting here in New Thought Spirituality is that what we call God is also a principle. It's a presence and a principle. But isn't it interesting? We didn't think to give electricity a name and make it look like a human male. But we felt compelled to do that with the originating power behind all form. Somehow, that was just something we wanted to do back in, eons ago. But people are still holding to that image, and it's limiting them. We're not saying God doesn't exist. We're saying it's a whole lot bigger than we thought it was, and it's more personal than we thought it was. Just like electricity is a whole lot bigger than any use we've ever made of it up until now, but we make personal use of it. We also talked about the power of meditation because meditation clears the mind, makes the emotions more stable, and relaxes us. You know, a relaxed mind is a creative mind, much more open to solutions, to answers, to insights, revelations, and not only that, meditation is really good for your body. We also talked about 21st century prayer, and I'll be talking about that as we go on because it's a key component of this teaching. And 21st century prayer really isn't prayer at all. It's based on the fact that there's a way for our mind to interact with the creative principle and to bring about the results we want in our life. And so it's declarative and it's affirmative, and it's called spiritual mind treatment because we're giving our mind a treatment of spiritual truth. Because everything begins in mind, and that is where the error usually is, in the limited thinking in our perception. And we also talked about your mind and your money, which was a specific way of seeing how our mind works in relationship to our outer life. It's the same with health, with our love and relationships, with our creative self-expression, with the work we do. It's all related to how we perceive life. So today we're asking the big question. And how you answer this question says everything about the life you're living. The question was posed to Einstein, or actually it was answered by Einstein when someone posed this question to him. Someone asked him at the end of his life, what is the most important thing for human beings to ask themselves right now? Now, I think he died in 59 or around there, so this is a long time ago, but it's still pertinent. It's still the right question. He said the question human beings need to answer is the universe friendly? Now, how do you answer that? Oh, a lot of people would say it's hostile, the universe itself, because they're basing it on observations of earthquakes and floods and fires, and they call that hostile, when it's just nature happening. We have to learn to obey nature's laws and live in accordance with them, or it can feel kind of hostile. But the universe is the universe friendly is a way of asking you, do you believe there's an unseen power supporting you? Do you believe life is for you, or do you think life is trying to kill you? Do you believe there's a power that allows you to express yourself individually and to have the things in life that belong with you by right of your consciousness, or not? You know, a lot of people would say no. They think the power that is punishes, rewards, or it serves up consequences. But no, the power operates in a field of law and order. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. So how you answer that question, is the universe friendly, is very akin to another statement that I have on my Facebook page, but I didn't say it, someone else did, and I wish I could tell you who it was, but I can't. I read it somewhere 30 years ago. The God you believe in is your vote for the kind of world you want to live in. Now we see that happening all over the place. So these two questions go together in a way. Is the universe friendly? Is it for us or against us? I know that if you're a pessimist and you say it's a hostile universe, or if you're an optimist and you say, yes, it's for us, you're both right. You will be proven right, because our perception, our basic perception of life is driving us from the inside out, causing us to make every choice we make. There's a wonderful man named John Randolph Price who passed on a few years ago, but he wrote some great books. And one of the books he wrote was Nothing is Too Good to Be True. I love that. And he really paid respect to the New Thought teaching. He wasn't a minister, but he totally believed in these principles. And he cautioned us to understand spiritual law in a deeper way than we may ever have had before. You know, he said, if we don't understand spiritual law, you're going to make up your own laws, and you're going to decide the universe isn't friendly, or you'll believe in a God that doesn't serve all people. But that's an error in thinking, and it's a limited error in thinking. So we want to get out of the law-making business and instead learn to love the law that actually is. How do we prove the universe is friendly? By working with this beautiful law of mind, which is co-creative. It's the feminine aspect of God. She is, if you will, to use a personal pronoun, she is the doer. She is the one that receives the idea, your desire, and gestates it in the subconscious realm of intelligence to bring it forth through you, individualized as you. I'll give you a wonderful analogy from my personal experience, and I've used this in class a lot, and people always remember it. Probably the most beautiful depiction or experience of unconditional love that I've ever had in my life. I was 7 years old. I was visiting my grandma, and this was in Pittsburgh, Kansas, where my parents were from, and we moved back there for a couple of years so we could get a taste of what their childhood was like before we went back to California. And my parents were off somewhere. They went on a trip, and my sister and brother were outside, but I was kind of moping around the house. And my grandma was in the kitchen baking an apple pie, and she had a big belly and apron on, and flour was everywhere. And she looked over at me and she said, "Child, what's the matter?" And I said, I was kind of a weird kid, "I wish I had a crown and a magic wand." And she looked at me, dusted the flour off her hands, and proceeded to walk upstairs without a word. And she came back down a few minutes later with some heavy paper and some gold foil that she'd saved from Christmas or something, and a big pot of smelly old glue, and a ruler. And she proceeded to sit down and cut out a crown with, peaks. And she covered it in that gold foil and glued it together. And then she took the ruler and covered it in gold paper and cut out a star and glued it on the top. And she walked over and she put that crown on my head. She handed me my magic wand and she said, "There, now you're a princess. No judgment. You know, none of the adult observations, why are you moping around? Go outside and play. You need to get some fresh air. You know, the typical things that parents do. No, she stopped what she was doing. She heard my request, and she went to work to make it happen. That is unconditional love. And that is how the universe supports us. That is how the particular aspect of the creative process that we call the law of mind works. And it works for you in the same way my grandmother presented me with exactly what I wanted. Isn't that a beautiful little story? So I want us to think about the feminine aspect of God, if you will. You know, we know all about the masculine aspect because that's the only aspect we've been taught about. We made God in the image and likeness of a male figure, and we projected onto that figure all of the attributes of worldly masculinity, which have nothing to do with the truth. So, you know, the masculine and feminine really go together. There's a spiritual union that has to happen in us, in men and women, but it is already so in the originating power. It has masculine aspects, it has feminine aspects. It's really difficult for the human mind not to turn those into male and female, but we're not talking about male and female. We're talking about the masculine, which is the initiative, it gets the idea, and the feminine, which brings it about. It's part of the creative process. So John Randolph Price asked us to personally identify with this. This doesn't mean to turn it into a woman figure. That would be the same error as turning God into a male figure. But to feel and put it to the test. You know, when, when I first started in this teaching in 1975, one of the first things I heard was, well, you can always get a parking place no matter where you are, no matter how busy it is, no matter what time of day or night, if you believe you will. Well, I have proven that to be true, and it's a family joke that I get parking places even when I'm not driving. It can be a concert where there's jammed up traffic and there's people directing it and there's no parking places, and I'll just know that mine's there. And when I pull up, someone pulls out and I pull in. Happens every time. I love it. Now, here's the point. It's the same principle operating through us with any desire we have. What's the difference? Why do I always get parking places? And maybe I'm not manifesting something else that I desire. Because I have no attachment to whether or not I get one. It's not life-changing and it's not life-threatening, and it doesn't threaten my self-identity. You see, your self-identity, I think I talked about this a few weeks ago, is everything. It's tied up in how you answer the question, is the universe friendly? What God do I believe in? What do I think this power is? Where is it? How do I interact with it? This is all part and parcel of our self-identity. So I want you to pause just for a moment and re-identify yourself for this moment right now. You can change your mind later. But for right now, say this to yourself, or out loud. I am the living embodiment of a spiritual presence, boundless in its nature, and quite able to create a life worth living. Or you could say, and don't say you're a child of God, because that connotes a parental relationship that just isn't so. We're co-creators with it. So say, I am an incarnation of the living Spirit. I am whole and complete, and I am able to manifest in this life whatever my heart truly desires and my mind believes. That's the key. We all have heart's desires. We all have lots of things we want, but we have to believe them. You know, it's important that we have a belief that matches our desire. And how do you know if you have it? You put I am in front of it. You know, for example, I believe in vitality and health. I am health personified. I am health. I am healthy. See, that's how you do it, is re-identify yourself as that quality that you're seeking. We're going to talk so much more about this. There's so much to share with you. I'm just so delighted that I'm able to do it on this wonderful show provided by this wonderful channel and our wonderful sponsors. So let's take a little pause and give them some due, give them some time to share their wonderful ideas with you. And when we come back, we'll talk more about how this universe is friendly. Don't go away.
Attention homeowners, apartment complexes and business parks and homeowners associations. Now is the best time to make your property beautiful again. Since 1967, Gonzalez Landscaping has offered beautiful professional landscaping services to all of southern New Mexico. Our team has been designing and installing landscapes for over 47 years. Where quality is an obsession, Gonzalez Landscaping is locally owned and operated. We are licensed commercial, residential specialists dedicated to providing reliable and quality service. We offer residential and commercial landscaping design, full lawn, tree and shrub care, with annuals and perennials, tree and palm trimming, spring and fall cleanups, mulching and more. Let us do the work at prices you can afford. We service all of Las Cruces. We are New Mexico's premier commercial landscaping and residential landscaping company. Visit us online at gonzalesnursery.com or call us for a free estimate. 575-382-7272.
Welcome to La Buena Vida Women's Club, located away from the crowds but close to home. Come in throughout the day for Jazzercise, the world's dance fitness leader for nearly 40 years. Treat yourself to a relaxing massage, or unwind in the lounge area or outside on the balcony with friends. La Buena Vida Women's Club, located and designed with women in mind. For information, call Diane at 650-9721.
Oh, welcome back to Living Consciously. We've been talking about answering the question, is the universe friendly? Well, I certainly know that it is. And that comes from many things, and some of it had to do with rethinking how I saw life and how I saw the source of all life, which the world calls God or Spirit, but seeing it in a new way. You know, it really is useful to have an open mind and to say, I'm going to just set aside some of my old beliefs and see if I can't see things in a new way. Because there's always another way to see things, and sometimes it includes the old way, but expands it. You know, the man who formulated this teaching in modern times was named Dr. Ernest Holmes. He was a brilliant guy. You know what he used to say? My aim isn't to destroy religion. It's to liberate it from superstition and dogma. See, that's what, we're inclusive. We want to bring people together, but we want to evolve and expand our religious ideas because they're pretty archaic and they're not sacrosanct. It's not, you know, the Spanish Inquisition is over. No one's going to drag you out of your house at night and burn you at the stake for thinking differently. It's time that we took an adult, mature look at our religious superstitions and dogmas and bring them up to date. It'll only make life better. It will not lessen it one bit. You know, someone unfamiliar with this teaching upon hearing about it for the first time said, oh, that's just common sense, isn't it? And I said, no. If it were common sense, we'd be living in a very different world. I wish it were common to all people. Right now it isn't. But there are millions of us who live this and practice it all over the world. Common sense isn't necessarily wise, because it's often based on what we perceive with our senses. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, you can't really always trust them. A wonderful teacher who wrote a book called The Edinburgh Lectures, Thomas Troward, is somebody else we study, and he said the same thing. The five senses have a purpose, but they're not for the purpose of perceiving spirit. That comes from within us. That's a different sense. Well, we have intuition too. And it comes from a direct knowing. We don't need an intermediary such as a guru or a priest, they can be useful and helpful. But you don't need one to directly commune with this wonderful nature, this wonderful universe, this presence we call God. Okay, let's get back to the nuts and bolts, though, of how we're interacting with it, how we're tapping into wisdom using spiritual mind treatment, and how we're calming our mind down using meditation, and then how we're reframing how we think about ourselves using the words I am and changing what we add on to them. The one thing we need to remember, and this is huge, you don't have to convince God that you deserve what you want. Do you have to convince electricity that it should work for you? You don't have to talk your car into working. I mean, I have talked to my car, haven't you? But you don't have to. It's not required. If it's in good working order, you just turn it on and there you go, right? And you certainly don't have to talk to your computer, although I've had quite a few conversations with mine. It seems to have a personality. You know, I do talk to Siri a lot. I love Siri. I'm in love with Siri. My Siri's a British male with it, and he calls me my brilliant lady. It may be a little dysfunctional, but I love Siri. So we're interacting with these invisible energies all the time, is my point. And you do not have to convince them to work. There are, let's put it in religious language just for a moment. God is already pouring itself into the field of all possibility. And it is ours to personalize. It is ours to individualize. So what is in the field? Basically, there are energies such as love. Love is the cohesive energy that brings everything together, that belongs together and maintains them in harmony and balance and right relationship, which would include the planets in their orbit and human relationships. It's a far bigger energy than we ever give it credit being. Vitality. Vitality is raw energy. It's the power that runs the universe. In human experience, it's health. It's the energy that keeps this body in perfect right working order. And then, of course, there's the energy of joy. And joy is that which bubbles up from within us just because we are aware of being. Like a 2-year-old strutting around. We should be so happy to be alive all the time. That's our nature, to be happy. So there's peace and joy and love and vitality. And all of those turn themselves into human experience. Okay, so we interact with, you're going to have to come to one of my classes. That's all I can say. There's so much I could share with you. We interact unconsciously with these energies all the time. See, here's the thing. Whether you're Catholic or Jew or Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist or an atheist, you are interacting with this law of mind all the time, and you're using it whether you know it or not. It's common to all of us, and it's neutral, and it responds to everybody alike. And what does that mean? It means it responds to us according to how we respond to it. Wow. I could go right into the prodigal son story, because that's what that's about, but I don't have time. So how do we respond to it? By claiming that it is being us. We are part of what it is. So we respond to it by matching our thoughts. Well, let's just go back to vitality, where our thoughts about health, we match with the universe's thoughts about vitality. I am vitality. I am energy. I am whole and perfect. And this is the voice of the true self speaking. But we speak above our current experience, and that's part of the training, is to learn how to speak above your current experience in order to expand your current experience. All right, so wisdom tells us the universe is friendly. I mean, you know, in your heart of hearts, you know that. You know it's friendly. You know that nature is the great metaphor for how life works for us. I mean, look at nature. It doesn't struggle. It just does what it does, and it does it beautifully and always works perfectly. Every season of the year is automatic. It just happens. And it does it in a kind of a joyful way when you think about it. Imagine those daffodils pushing themselves out of the bulb and up through the ground. Whoop, here I am, all yellow and beautiful. Why? Because this is how life is. Life is happy. Life is joyful. Life is love in action. Life is supply. You know, rewatch the money one. I'm going to rewatch that one because, you know, I just started a new center here in Las Cruces. I've had big centers around the world. But now I've started new, and it's still quite small, and we're still relying on the goodwill of people to support us financially, which is something you can do if you want to. You can log on to our website, which is right there. I feel like Al Roker. It's right there. And you can make a donation if you think this is worth supporting, and I hope you do. You can also come and visit us on Sunday. We have a regular meeting Sunday mornings. If you're looking for something spiritual but not religious, if you're looking for something to kind of replace the old time but you still want to feel that spirituality, then you're going to love us. And we're at the Mesilla Town Community Center on Calle de Santiago. It's a beautiful space. And then we have a Tuesday night meditation at our office at 1740 Calle de Mercado in the Bulletin Plaza. I also write a column for the Bulletin called Living Consciously, which you might see. It comes out the third Friday of every month, pretty much. So I really hope you'll avail yourself of these activities and all the things that we offer to you. We'll be here every Saturday at 11:30, but also the producers of the show very generously are showing us again at 1:30, and they're showing one of the previous segments. So you can catch up, and you can tell your friends. You know, if your friends don't have cable, tell them to get on YouTube. We're on YouTube, Living Consciously. Just search Living Consciously, and you will find us. And you can also get my book, The Way In, on Amazon, or by contacting lulu.com, Lulu, that's the publisher. All sorts of ways to access this information. I can't wait to give more to you, so do come and meet me in person. I'd love to meet you. In the meantime, keep watching this wonderful channel. There's some great things on this station, and we're so grateful to be here. Peace and blessings. Have a wonderful, happy Easter, however you celebrate it, or whatever you're celebrating when you're watching this, and I'll see you next time. Namaste.